I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about the podcasting world, in particular, Daily Wire and Brett Cooper leaving the Daily Wire. Now, for those of you out there who maybe don't watch podcasts or political podcasts or whatever, Brett Cooper is a young lady. She is a former actress, but she was hired by the was it Ben? I'm
Ben
blanking on his name
Shapiro,
right now.
the boring
Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring's podcast network, Daily Wire, to come on board and try to attract a younger crowd by doing a show called The Comments Section. And the comments section is basically her reacting to TikToks and stuff like that, but in a very intelligent and politically right-leaning way. And she's very popular on the network. She's been at the Daily Wire for 3 years doing the comment section. And in fact, they actually hired her to be their version of Snow White, as they're producing like a movie to rival Disney's live action Snow White. So we'll see how that comes out. But basically, there had been rumors going around this past week that she had been fired from Daily Wire. And Daily Wire is no stranger to controversy. They had this big kerfluffle with when they were negotiating with Steven Crowder. Then Candace Owens famously was fired from the Daily Wire because of her views on Israel and all this other stuff. And so a lot of people are like, oh, what's going on with Brett Cooper? Was she fired? And so she finally came out and addressed the rumors. And she basically said, no, I wasn't fired, but I am leaving the Daily Wire to pursue my other passions. And this comes right after her getting married and stuff like that. And I'm speculating personally that because of the Snow White role, she wants to get back into acting as opposed to being like, a podcast host or what have you. And also she might want a little bit more free time to, enjoy being married and start a family or something along those lines. But she basically said like, no, like we're leaving on good terms. I'm still doing the Snow White thing. I'm just not going to be the host of Daily Wire anymore or comment section anymore. And of course, the Quartering was the first one in her comments to say like, hey, come join my network. So, in straight Quartering style. But Odin,
Jeremy,
Jeremy. Odin, what do you think of this announcement? Do you think that there was something a little bit more going on behind the scenes to this, or is this just Brett wanting to kind of move on and strike out on her own?
It's impossible for us to know. And that's what's so annoying about all of it is that the amount of videos that have come out of people like claiming either inside information or just keen insights has just been so insufferable, because ultimately the only one who really knows who, what exactly happened is Brett Cooper. So until she actually says something about it herself and what the experience was, I'm not really going to buy into a lot of the hype surrounding it. So, and again, people can say, oh, I've got these inside sources who knew exactly what was happening and look what's going on. She's deleting these photos. It's like we can make speculations. You can do internet sleuthing, and there might be something to it. Like, for instance, there's that rumor that she and her producer had a falling out, and that's why she's deleting photos of her producer from her Instagram. And like, there's like all this like reporting going on. It's like, but we don't really know. We honestly do not have an idea of like what could have caused that to happen, or like if something else could have happened coincidentally at the same time. We honestly just don't know. So I don't think that there's anything nefarious necessarily going on. I would not be surprised if, hey, we're getting towards the end of the year, contract conversations might be happening. She may have wanted to get more money potentially, or had a different vision of what the future of the show was going to look like, and there was a creative difference, and then they left ways, and we're not going to find out the reasons possibly ever, especially with likely her having signed an NDA and likely wanting to just continue her career and wanting to keep a lot of that audience, and she's going to get it. Like, she's going to do fine. I mean, there's no reason for her to not do well after the fact, because she has built up an audience. And I think what people sometimes forget, because even I forgot this as well, she wasn't like homegrown, to my knowledge. She was not homegrown by Daily Wire. She actually had a show beforehand and then got picked up by the Daily Wire. And then obviously from that, her whole show got huge, and her presence got boosted quite a bit. So for her to go back, it's almost in a lot of ways, I think, are going to be a return to a maybe more like comfortable space for her. Where she has more control of her schedule, control of the videos that she puts out, like whatever it is that she wants to do. I guess the only real problem could potentially be is, how much of the show was her? How much of it can she continue to do on her own? Or does she have to make a completely different set because obviously she can't call it the comment section, she can't call it like certain things, but it's like can she still essentially do the same thing? I would assume she can, but it'll be interesting to see exactly what she does, and I think she'll do fine though. I think she'll be very successful after the fact. She clearly has a huge audience. I would say that the bigger question mark is whether or not the replacement of her producer taking on now the comment section's leading host, whether that's going to survive or not, who knows.
No, well, I'm sorry, we're going to add to that. I think one reason she's going to be fine is because she's going to keep her mouth shut, and that's important. That NDA is a real thing. I worked at Panasonic for a while, and if you asked me 15 years ago if I was fired, I would have said like, no, I'm going to go. I'm leaving to go focus on this thing over here. But in reality, I was fired from Panasonic, and it was messy. But I also had NDA, and I had a non-compete. And in order for me to still work in the space and do what I wanted and use my name and my social media accounts, I was forced, and that's the only word I can use, to play ball and to not paint my previous employer as a bad guy, even though I was taken advantage of, and they did me dirty. I think that Daily Wire, it's entirely possible that Daily Wire was straight up fired. I think there's a difference of opinion. It wasn't just what they wanted to do, but there was probably a difference of politics too. And I think the Daily Wire needs to make sure they keep as many of the dissenters out of their ranks, or else that entire thing can fall into chaos. It's being ran as a business. And so they quickly nipped that in the bud with Brett Cooper when her contract was over. And I think they got rid of her. They had already started to bring her producer into the show as her replacement off and on. So they were slowly working up to that before her contract negotiation even came up. So I do think she was fired, and I think she has an NDA and a non-compete, and in order for her to, snap back from this and hopefully become bigger and better than she was with the comment section, she's got to play ball with the Daily Wire.
Makes sense. I have not signed an NDA, and I'm going to write a really big scathing book about Kadish someday. It's going to be awesome.
No, me too. I'm actually writing it right now.
Stuff, yeah.
I actually write it while we're on the show. I look at the private chat. I'm like, these motherfuckers.
I take notes all the time.
I'm keeping receipts.
The first complaints could be, remember when he made us watch that video of himself for half an hour?
He made me watch Thanksgiving, guys.
Pineapple on pizza. He keeps calling me trans. I'm not trans. I don't understand it.
Unbelievable.
He made a calendar of us without our permission.
I made a calendar. Yeah. He's been sexualizing me for years. He keeps telling me to open an OnlyFans. I say, no, I won't do it.
Submit your complaints to HR.
He calls me Mr. Butt, regardless of how many times I tell him not to.
Yes. Speaking of which, Mr. Butt, Gina Carano posted a tweet or a zeet, whatever they're called nowadays.
What?
Zit. Basically, really kind of pumping up Brett Cooper's decision. She was very proud of her for striking out on her own and stuff like that. And Gina Carano, she's had her own kind of associations with the Daily Wire and the movie division over there. Do you think that this is just another example of YouTubers who get famous, kind of like going on to bigger and better things?
I mean, that would make sense, right? I mean, I listen, I don't watch Daily Wire. I've never seen this show with Miss Cooper on it, so I'm really not the right person to talk to you about this. But it just seems like, she came in there, she got famous, and now she's going to have a chance to capitalize on that. And good for her. I hope she's very successful. Maybe I'll go have to check her out after this. I'm just not a huge Daily Wire guy. I don't have time to watch it, so so I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. But
it wasn't interesting because like Daily Wire, they tend to be more male focused, but Brett brought in the female crowd, and she also brought in the younger crowd, which I think they were sorely lacking in. So like she was like an overall net asset to the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
And so like to see her go, it's kind of an interesting kind of like development there. But I want to throw this to Sean because Sean, one of the interesting things about Daily Wire is that they are trying to build kind of like a parallel to Hollywood with their movie and TV division and their kids division as well. And they're basically throwing their hat into the ring of like mainstream entertainment. But all of their stuff, typically it's been either movies that were independently produced and then they bought, or it was done in-house for a specific reason. But all of it's been going through like the Daily Wire Plus app and stuff like that, and all of it seems to have like the stink of political bias on it, right? So it's like, oh, if you watch a movie from the Daily Wire, it's obviously going to be political or have a political bend or something like that. Their big successes have, oddly enough, been their documentaries, where they have Matt Walsh going out there and basically pulling a Borat, where like he's doing these documentaries and clowning on people in them. And they're super cheap to make, but they have been kind of making inroads into the original series. Like they have a Pendragon series, which is the Excalibur legend that they're going to be releasing. They're doing their Snow White mainstream film. But my biggest issue with what I've seen from Daily Wire is like they keep falling into the Hollywood trap. It's like, they're giving us quote unquote strong female protagonists. They're doing things that might not be for a modern audience, but they're kind of in line with what Hollywood's been doing. Whereas what they should be doing is they should be doing the counter to what Hollywood's doing and give people like strong masculine leads, like dumb action movies from the 80s. Like that's the type of stuff that we've been deprived of for a long time. That's the type of stuff people really want to see. So what's your take on Daily Wire's kind of like alternate Hollywood content strategy? Do you think they ever have a chance of kind of breaking out into their own type of success, or are they just going to be playing second fiddle to Hollywood the entire time?
Just quick thoughts back. It'll answer your question, but like to something you said, I think that Daily Wire needed Brett Cooper more than Brett Cooper needed Daily Wire at this point in time, where she's the draw for her own show. It's not like they're propping her up. So her going independent seemed like made sense to me, and it's a loss for them more than it is for her. And even on the announcement, seemed like they're just trying to not have another Candace Owens situation, and they like shut it down so there's no drama. We did it together, though. You can just watch that video and go, of course there's something else going on here. What is it? I don't know, but obviously there's more to the story. As for your question, I think you got it exactly right when you said all of these Daily Wire films just have the stink of politics on them, even though the movies themselves might not. Right. That because they're being put out by an organization that is just so othered by the Twitter, this group of people, it doesn't matter that Run, Hide, Fight is just Die Hard at a school shooting. There's like it's not like someone is pausing to give talk about the Donald Trump in the middle of the film, and Terror on the Prairie. It's just a Western isolation survival film. They're just
Run, Hide, Fight's actually a good movie. But
I mean, I enjoyed both of these films well enough because I just like those kinds of movies.
Right.
Like they're like that, and that's what they're trying to do. But there's just so much of a. You guys, Daily Wire's the villains. That kind of way of thinking. That as soon as a movie is released by them, it's seen as a political statement to watch it and review it. And so, like both of those movies I talked about on my channel, and people are like, well, Sean, I had people comment like, well, Sean, you realize that's the Daily Wire? It's like, I review movies. What are you talking about? Or Jeremy Johns reviews a movie that opened in the top 3 at the box office. And they're so like, of course, this reveals who his true character. It's like a movie critic reviewed a movie that was in the top 5. This is not a political statement. Like the fact that you view it that way reveals something about you. It does not reveal something about him. Just like crazy as can be. It was so frustrating that it's not. I think that's the problem that the Daily Wire putting out movies will always have that issue so long as other people just other them and villain anything associated with it.
Sure.
It's perceived of as a political statement when it's literally, I watched a movie because it's a Western. I watched a movie because I'm a movie critic. How dare you? You can't even do like that way of thinking is so strange. But as long as that's out there, I don't think Daily Wire can ever break through that element.
No. Shapiro's too polarizing when it comes to that kind of stuff. He's going to always be. He's always going to have that stigma of the far right crazy dude attached to him. There's nothing he can do about it either. Might as well just embrace it. In other news, I went over to Brett Cooper and I followed her on Twitter, and I just looked. She had a link up to her brand new YouTube page. It has no videos on it or nothing yet, but it's already at almost 200,000 subs. Yep. So I think she's going to be fine. It's 197,000 subscribers right now. So it'll be interesting to see what she does.
almost as many subscribers as we have.
Yeah.
Almost. You're getting there, Brett.
Almost. Oddly enough, we did hit the 19,000 subscriber mark today.
Nice.
So thank you to everyone who has
Congratulations.
subbed to the channel. Yes, we appreciate that. We're coming for you, Gary.
Coming.
That close.
That's right.
We're on the way.